I have this week been reading about butterflies and chrysalises, and I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce the plural form of chrysalis. Is it chrysali? I don't know. I learned something. I thought that all butterflies and moths came out of cocoons, but that, it turns out, is not the case. It turns out that moths come out of cocoons and butterflies come out of chrysalises. Now, I find this to be a fascinating metaphor for what we're going through right now. We are at home in our cocoons. We are sheltered at home. We're working from home. For those of us that are working, we're working from home. We're hanging out at home. We're making meals together. We're playing games together. We're watching TV together. We're doing everything together in our cocoon. And I had a fantasy this week about what is it that is going to emerge out of these cocoons or out of these chrysalises. And is it possible that we could live in the cocoon in a way that influenced or had some say over how we come out of this cocoon? So if you know the life cycle of a moth or a butterfly, it's quite fascinating. It has 4 stages: the egg, and then the larva or the caterpillar stage, and then the cocoon or the chrysalis stage, and then they emerge as these winged insects. The chrysalis or cocoon stage is most fascinating to me because the insect that goes into it is not the insect that comes out of it. Something happens in the cocoon. Something happens in the chrysalis. And I researched that this week. It's quite fascinating. If you have some time today, Google what happens, as I did, what happens in a cocoon or what happens in a chrysalis. And it just so happens that I have a little picture here to show you. Let's see, let me move this. I'm going to have a point here. This isn't a study in biology today, but I wanted to share this with you. It's quite fascinating. So if you follow from the top left across to the right, you notice this is a monarch caterpillar, and its body begins to harden. You can see by the 3rd frame from left to right that there's a hardening that's beginning to take place. This is the development of the chrysalis. And you can say about 2 frames in the middle that the chrysalis now is fully formed. And what's happening now for about, I believe about 9 or 10 days for a monarch, it varies for different butterflies or moths, but I think for about 9 or 10 days, what happens inside of that is that the caterpillar liquefies. The same digestive juices that the caterpillar used to digest its food now digests or liquefies its entire body within this chrysalis. And something fascinating happens as soon as that takes place. As soon as the body begins to melt down, as soon as it becomes kind of a caterpillar soup, sorry, that's a little gross, a whole nother cell called a imaginal cell is activated. Now, the imaginal cells have been kept dormant by certain hormones in the caterpillar. And now that the caterpillar is liquefied, these imaginal cells, they wake up and they begin to connect with one another. This is very important. The imaginal cell wakes up to itself and realizes that it has a purpose. And it immediately connects with other imaginal cells. And they begin to form clusters that become the basic building blocks of the butterfly body, the butterfly structure. These imaginal cells continue to form together, and they form this wing and that antenna and this leg and the other wing and so forth, until you can see here the chrysalis begins to thin out, becomes transparent, and at some point the butterfly breaks free of it. Now, I am quite excited about this metaphor, both individually and collectively. we go through cocooning or chrysalis periods of our life. These are typically crisis periods when things are really going in a very difficult way, and it throws us out of our routine so that we can't just keep our routine going any longer. The routine is thrown off, and we're stuck inside of our cocoon or our chrysalis, and something new begins to take place. Something new begins to form. Now, what's important for us to understand both individually and collectively at this time in our Earth's history, with this incredible, unprecedented thing happening in our world, it's important for us to understand there has to be a death before there can be a resurrection. That's actually the message from last weekend. Last weekend was Easter. And that's the main message. The old has to die before the new can come into being. That's both the message of Easter and it's the message of the butterfly. We have to learn to let something go. An old me has to be given up before a new me can come online. Now, this is actually the way everything in creation operates. There's a wonderful, I shared with some of you in class, there's a wonderful concept in general systems theory. This is theories that apply to systems at all levels, whether they're cellular systems or cosmic systems. These theories apply to all levels of these systems. And there is a principle called the principle of dissipative structures, which is just fun to say. The principle of dissipative structures. Now, this principle says that everything in creation, all systems, no matter at what level in the universe, all systems arise, come to be, and then tend toward decay. Right? And then out of that decay, a new system arises organized at a higher level. Right? This is creation, and then the maintenance, and then the dissolution, which gives rise to something new that's organized at a higher level. The butterfly is not a new and improved caterpillar, right? You don't staple wings onto the caterpillar and call it good. The butterfly is a transformed being. It's an entirely different structure. It doesn't live in the same way. It doesn't crawl on the earth and it doesn't eat leaves. Now it flits and flies in a very free and incredible way and drinks nectar for the rest of its life. Do you see the metaphor here? So the important thing is that we make use of our cocooning time. If we can make use of our cocooning time, then what emerges at the end of this crisis is something brand new on both an individual and a collective level. In order for us to change the structures and systems in our world that are no longer working, we have to come together. Right? That's what we've been hearing from all the teachers that are teaching right now. We heard it from Governor Cuomo in New York. He said, look, we can do anything. We can conquer any problem if we come together and do it together. If we can drop our allegiance to a certain separate kind of identity or group, if we can drop that and come to understand that we're part of a larger whole and come together as a part of that larger whole, there is no problem in that whole that cannot be solved if we come together and do it together. These are the imaginal cells. Do you see? The imaginal cells who cannot form a butterfly on their own. They can only form a butterfly by coming together, by linking together. That's the only way they can form a butterfly. They have the impulse inside of them to form a butterfly, but a single imaginal cell could never do it. They have to form up with the thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands, I don't know. They have to form up with all the other imaginal cells in order to form these clusters, and these clusters become structures, and these structures fit together into the butterfly. This is what has to happen with us. When we emerge out of this cocoon or this chrysalis as individuals and as a species, if we can emerge out in a sense that we're doing this together, that we have a shared sense of purpose that has the good of all in mind. If we can come together and leave our concerns only for ourselves behind and include our concerns for others in our house, others down the street, others in our neighborhood, in our city, in our nation, and in our world. Okay, so I'd like to speak just for a few minutes about ways that we can make the best use of our cocooning time. Now, many people right now are just kind of stuck in survival mode, right? It's completely understandable. There is profound levels of anxiety, unprecedented levels of sadness on the planet right now in human consciousness. It's immense. And so it's easy for the individuals that make up human consciousness to feel that and to just go into survival mode. It's completely understandable. And we hunker down in the foxhole of our fear and in the foxhole of our homes and just hope that the storm blows by and doesn't hit us too badly. And we're sad for others that the storm hits, but we just hope it doesn't hit ours. That's survival mode. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's not bad or evil. It's just survival mode. But I'm going to call that caterpillar mentality, if you don't mind. I'm going to call that the old. Because if we look at the world before COVID-19, we see a world made up of egos and groups of egos that care really only about themselves. Political parties that care only about their own agenda, religions that care only about their own truth, races that care only about the well-being of their people in their race. Lots of us, them categories. That's caterpillar mentality. Lots and lots of legs on the caterpillar, right? Lots of differing, competing agendas. And they're egoically driven. The ego is the story in this mind that says, I am separate and alone. And what's important is my own survival. Really, my own survival is all that's important to the ego. So then my ego and your ego and other egos group together and form groups that develop a group ego, and now the group ego is in competition with all other group egos that have their agendas and their belief systems and their ideas and their preferences. And now we're kind of like at war with each other, metaphorically, but also, as you know, very literally at war with each other. And it arises out of caterpillar mentality. It arises out of this sense that I am separate and that my survival is my own priority, and that your survival, best of luck, buddy, you're on your own. And if I have to climb up on you, and if I have to take a little of your food and take more toilet paper than I need because I need it, I don't really care about you. That's ego mentality, do you see? And that's what's been running the world for hundreds and perhaps thousands of years. Ego mentality, the sense of separation, the survival of the fittest. What happens to me is all that I'm really caring about. What happens to you, I don't, that's secondary. That's caterpillar mentality. That's ego-centered living. And if we look around the world, even before COVID-19, what we see is it's not working for us. Profound amounts of poverty and homelessness and preventable diseases, and huge amounts of the world's population don't even have access to potable water and don't know where they're going to get their next meal and live on just a pittance, you know? Inequality among sexes and among political parties and among socioeconomic groups, and yet at the soul we're all the same, do you see? So this old way of living from ego mentality, that's caterpillar mentality, that's got to go. And I'm suggesting to you that here in this pandemic, there is a cocoon happening, a chrysalis happening, and I am hoping and working toward and inviting you to join me in the liquefying of the caterpillar, the giving up, the giving up of ego mentality as our center from which we live in the world, so that we can emerge as a new creation, a new creature, a new structure, a new global system that has the soul as its center, that has love as its center, compassion as its center, a desire to collaborate and to connect and to work together for the good, for the common good, not just for the good of a few, but for the common good. So that we would emerge out of this time in Earth's history and look back and say that that old caterpillar structure didn't work. It served its time. We evolved in the way that we needed to from that structure, and now it's time to develop an entirely different structure in the world, a collaborative, compassionate structure of equality that cares for the common good of everyone on the planet. Not just humans on the planet, but everyone, all beings on the planet, every sentient being, the natural world itself, that we come to live in harmony with one another. All right, I don't mean to be sounding like I'm on a soapbox. I am a little tiny passionate about this. So what is the best way? Let me just take 3 minutes and talk. What is the best way for us to live at home in these times in a way that could break us free from, one, survival mentality, but two, also break us free from ego-centeredness only, that we would care about those around us and how we're going to emerge? Well, so here's my suggestion is I would invite you to understand that what we focus on becomes stronger. This is just a universal principle. Whatever you focus on intensifies. Because what you focus on, you're investing awareness into, and awareness is the creative power of the soul. So when you invest the creative power in the soul, whatever you invest it into, that's going to become stronger. And in the end, you're going to identify with that. Whatever you focus most on, you become like. I've got to say that again. Whatever you focus most on, you become like. So now look back on this previous week, and what is it that you've been focused on, right? And if you look back, would you say what I've been focusing on is really what I want to become? Is what I've been focused on really what I want to become identified as? So I just invite you to ask that of yourself in a very honest and self-inquiring kind of way. We're not making anything bad. We're not saying anything is wrong or evil or any of that kind of stuff. We're looking at how is it that we can emerge a butterfly rather than remain in the same self-centered, fear and shame-driven caterpillar structure that we've been in. So my suggestion is that we become very selective as to what we give all of our attention to, right? Most of us could very easily cut our time in front of screens, in front of news feeds about the coronavirus, at least in half. We could very easily benefit by doing that. Now, that may not apply to you, and for some of you, it may apply. Again, there's no criticism here. We're not criticizing this. When we're anxious and we're needing to understand how to live through something, we want to amp up a little sense of control, and we invest ourselves in educating ourselves. This is totally normal. But could we perhaps cut half of that in time, in half, and invest that time into something entirely different? We need to learn how to unplug our consciousness from consensus consciousness. Consensus consciousness is what we call the kind of the collective consciousness, you know? And in the culture and in the world right now, that consciousness is rather full of fear and survival strategies, understandably, completely understandably. But could we unplug from that and plug into the consciousness of the soul? Were we to do that, there might be something kind of, in addition to wanting to survive, there might be something else that would come online, and that is the desire to thrive, not just survive. And to bring forth a new way of living in the world that's rooted more in love and equality and peace and harmony. So I'm suggesting that you pay close attention to what you focus on and really feel inside of you to see if what you're focusing on is cultivating the consciousness that you not only want to live in, but you want the world to be structured by. I'm going to see if I can say that again. Pay attention to what you're focusing on and how you're living, to see if it's producing the kind of consciousness within you that you want to characterize your life. And if it's producing the kind of consciousness within you that can hook up to others and create the kind of world that you're wanting. So for me, in my experience, that requires a daily turning inward, daily meditative practices, daily unplugging from consensus consciousness and plugging into soul consciousness, if you like that word. Love consciousness, higher consciousness, if you like those words. For me, it requires the focused kind of like reception of higher consciousness. Now, there's a number of ways to do this, of course. Meditating is one of them, and I highly recommend that you cultivate a meditative practice. Now, I have to say about that it won't be perhaps your natural inclination to meditate. When we're in survival kind of mode, it doesn't occur to us to relax our body and to watch our breath and to connect with the soul. It doesn't occur to us to do that. In fact, it's like, I don't have time for that. I have to, make a mask, or I have to wipe off my countertop, or I have to watch more, whatever it is. But to be able to give ourselves this incredible gift of unplugging from that and finding in ourselves a place of peace that calms the anxiety, and a connection to a higher consciousness through which wisdom and guidance and understanding can come. This is absolutely essential in this cocooning period, in my way of thinking. Another way to plug into higher consciousness is to do what we're doing here, which is to come together in satsangs and in classes and online, and to, YouTube is full of wonderful, wonderful teachers at this point who are offering so much of what they have for free, and Adyashanti and Muji and Deepak Chopra and, on and on and on, and just lots and lots. And to expose yourself to these wonderful teachers who are offering us insight as to how to move through this time with grace and to emerge out of it kind of transformed. It's fantastic at this time. So I've got about 10 more minutes. I'd like to share with you a little bit more information on the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, and we're going to do a mala of it together. It just takes 4 minutes. Om Mani Padme Hum. Let me go back to the mantra. Om Mani Padme Hum. So again, loosely translated, the mantra is the jewel is in the lotus. The lotus being our core, our essence, the depth of our being, our hearts, and the jewel being the soul. That's just one word for it. Our Buddha nature, Christ consciousness, the essence of our being, the pure consciousness that we are. Now, there's something very powerful about this mantra that I'm wanting to share with you. This mantra is a heart-opening, bodhicitta eliciting mantra. Now, bodhicitta is, in Tibetan Buddhism, one of the central kind of concepts in Tibetan Buddhism. Bodhicitta is the sincere desire to awaken in a way that benefits all beings. So it's the dropping away of personal agenda and coming to want to be the most evolved, most selfless person that I can possibly be in a way that benefits everyone around me, and all beings. This is bodhicitta. It's an amazing awakening of the soul in the being. The soul, as I said earlier, is a bodhisattva, and it greatly desires to be of service to the larger whole, to create, in the end, a sense of unity, to get back to the truth of the underlying unity of all things. So Om Mani Padme Hum is a wonderful, heart-opening, compassion cultivating, bodhicitta eliciting mantra. When you strike the tuning fork of Om Mani Padme Hum, this is the effect it will have on your life. So any mantra will help you in the cocooning to come out a more evolved being than the way you walked in. Any mantra will do that. I strongly urge you to consider cultivating a period of reading, a period of mantra, and a period of meditation, in addition to practices such as yoga asana and qigong, which are moving meditations and the moving of energy and wonderful practices. I would really encourage you to practice on a daily basis in a way that focuses your attention away from what consensus consciousness is pushing and onto what you begin to feel that higher consciousness is downloading into your heart and into your mind. Okay, a lot of talking, a lot of information. Let's quit talking for a moment and do just a few minutes of mantra. Now, I will not be offended if you feel done with our session and you'd like to just log off. I bow to you and say thank you so much for joining us. If you'd like to stay for another 5 minutes or so and work with this mantra with me, I would love to have that. Om Mani Padme Hum. And we're going to say the mantra into the heart center. So we're going to slow down a little bit, get quiet. Come into the heart center and set our intention, which is to unplug from consensus consciousness, to replug into our spiritual heart, into our soul, into our Buddha nature. And we're going to use this mantra to open to higher consciousness, to the inflow of higher consciousness. The coming forth of love and compassion in these hearts that feels a sense of connection to others, that empathetically connects with their pain and suffering and desires and brings loving kindness in the form of light and love and action to the suffering of others. We set as the intention that bodhicitta will be born in our hearts and come forth in very powerful ways to enlighten our beings in a way that brings great benefit and liberation to others. So say the mantra with me, if you will. We'll say it slowly at first, and then we'll pick up some speed. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Now pause for a second. Visualize for a moment that sense that you had earlier of the body being full of light, being surrounded with light, and feel that the source of light is coming from deep within the heart, pouring out to all those that you love, all those that you're connected to. And now with that visualization, if you can hold that visualization, let's continue. We're about halfway through. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Now keep saying it silently, really focused on the light in the heart, radiating out to all beings. Just silent recitation. And now out loud together, just the last 4 or 5 here. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Now sit for a moment in that, the energy, the resonance, and the radiance of this mantra. And then together, let's read this Bodhisattva prayer that's on your screen. May all beings be happy and free. May all beings be safe and well. May all beings awaken to their true nature. May all beings live together in peace and harmony. I pray for you this week, great peace and harmony. I hope that you'll take some time to turn inward and allow grace to cultivate the the internal anxiety, confusion, not knowing what to do about the future, like to turn all of that more into an optimism, to turn all of that into an intention and an aspiration to emerge out of the cocoon of this crisis as a butterfly, as a soul-aligned and a soul-centered being, a love-centered being. Thank you so much for coming today. I so appreciate your being present, your offering your heart and your soul to this practice, for making it what it was today. Much love to you. God bless. Namaste.